Welcome, Xenia, back to another episode of X-Town, the podcast. I am your host, Josh Long. I'm also the founder of Xenia's Word on the Street at xeniaword.com. Again, I want to invite you all over to xeniaword.com to get local news, events, and views for our community, by our community, and on Facebook at facebook.com/XeniaWord. All right, now to this episode of X-Town. We're going to talk about the schools. I actually just left an interview with Dr. Gab Loften. If you do not know who he is, Dr. Loften is the Interim Superintendent for Xenia Community Schools. His first day on the job is next Monday at the time of this recording, so that would be on 9/11. I was able to catch up with him in his new office there at the Xenia Community Schools Board of Education. Before we dive into the interview, I do want to just kind of talk, what does it mean when you say that you're an interim superintendent? So as you know, Denny Morrison was our previous superintendent who retired from being a superintendent. He is teaching in the Greenview School District as a principal, I think at their middle school, but he's retired from the superintendent title, getting back into the schools, back into the classrooms. And that left an opening, a void, if you would, in the leadership of the Xenia Community Schools. Ms. Christy Fielding had filled in since July in the interim role, and now she is again the assistant superintendent, and Dr. Loften now is the interim superintendent. And what that means, he's got basically a year contract through this school season with the Board of Education. And he described it as dating. And that's a great analogy. The board is getting to know him. He's getting to know the school system. And as an interim superintendent, he's got the reins at the helm of the schools. At the same time, he's figuring out if the school district is the right fit for him. And the school district's thinking about if he's the right fit for us. And that's what it means by interim superintendent. Now, I had a great interview, sat down with him for about a half hour in his office off of Colorado Drive in the former McKinley School Building, which is currently where the Board of Education is located. We were able to talk his professional past, where he's taught, what brought him into the administration, what he thinks his first steps are here in Xenia. We also talked a little bit about sports. He's definitely not a fan of my hat that I'm wearing today, but we were able to talk a little bit about sports as he's now going to start rooting for the Xenia Buccaneers. Let's just dive right into that interview. Here's my interview with Dr. Gab Loften, the interim superintendent for the Xenia Community Schools. So I really appreciate you taking time to sit and talk. I know you're in busy transitioning from your old job to your new job. Just to start out here, could you just give the community some background who you are, like where you grew up, where you came from? Are you married? You got kids? We don't need any specifics there, but just who is Dr. Loften, and then we'll talk about your professional record and your first steps here in Xenia.
All right. Well, thank you, Josh. Well, of course, Gab Loften. I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. Went to school at Miami University, where I attended undergrad and got my master's there and did all my coursework and education at Miami University, and then started off teaching at Walnut Hills High School in Cincinnati, okay. And then from there did several things in terms of administrative work. And
what grades did you teach?
I taught grades 7 and 11.
Oh, middle
taught
school.
American history and world history and American government.
I have a middle schooler in 6th grade here in Xenia, and a high schooler, which he's in first year in high school, freshman in high school. So those are fun ages to teach.
Oh, absolutely. 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 They keep you energized and keep you thinking.
So you went to school down there. You always been here then in Ohio?
Ohio is my home, but I did do 3 years in the state of Minnesota.
Okay.
I worked for the Wayzata Public Schools right outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's a small suburban community there where I was a director for academic excellence.
Without going into details, are you married? You got kids or?
Nope. Single. No kids, and just immersed in work and have been for quite some time.
Probably get enough kids at work.
Absolutely. So now that I'm here in Xenia, I got close to 5,000. Yeah. So I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So professionally, spoke about teaching at the middle school and high school level. Drove you into administration. What led you down that path? And because you were previously the assistant superintendent, correct, in Cincinnati?
Correct. So I'm coming from Cincinnati Public Schools, where I served as the assistant superintendent, and I primarily was in charge of all the district high schools. Did most recently. So what drove me into education or into administration? It's the ability to kind of impact, the lives of kids. And when I was a teacher at Walnut Hills High School in Cincinnati, I kind of made the decision that, hey, I wanted to go into administration and see how I could impact education and see how I could, provide better education for students and connect with parents and families and all those things. So that's a big reason why I decided to go into education and specifically administration, and that was to really improve the lives of kids and help families and to engage with the community that I was serving.
That's awesome. So your first official day is next week.
Correct.
Here in Xenia. Getting your feet wet in the community. Assuming I didn't follow the interview process myself very much. They had quite a bit of candidates to kind of sort through, and you rose to the top there after Mr. Morrison left us. So what's your first impression of the school district, the community? Have you got a chance to look around and get to meet anyone yet? Or
absolutely. So I've been driving around Xenia, meeting people and talking to people. I got to say that everybody here that I have met thus far are friendly and engaging, and it's a really, really great community. And you mentioned Denny Morrison, so I definitely have to say kudos to him. I mean, he's done a wonderful job here in Xenia and has left some really, really good things happening here. So my hope is that, for me to come in and continue to engage with the community and continue some of that good work that Denny did while he was here.
Yeah. He come in just the right time in our community where the trust level, I would say, in the administration was at a low, probably nowhere near the lowest it's ever been, but at a low. And so some big shoes to fill getting in the community. Are you planning a tour, getting to know, meeting the local groups and...
Well, absolutely. So, my intentions are to come in and meet everybody that I can. I have an open door policy. So I'm going to go to all the different, businesses and community events that I can go to and talk to all the people that I can talk to and meet all the people that I can meet. So, my intentions are, day one, which is this coming Monday, to be fully immersed in this community and engage with all the different stakeholders.
And I promise you, we're not going to get into any details because you're still getting your feet wet. You got to get to know your people, get to know the community before you put a plan together. But if you had to think of your first step, is that your first step, getting to know the people?
Oh, absolutely. So my first step or first priority is to engage with the community. First and foremost, I'm the new kid on the block, so to speak. So, I'm just looking forward to, again, meeting everyone, talking to everyone, getting their, opinions, feelings about, how we're moving the school district forward and, what are the things that we're doing well and what are some things that, we may want to look at in terms of improving. So that's my first priority. And again, I have an open door policy and, I just want to talk to as many people as I can and engage with as many stakeholders in this community that I can.
While you were interviewing things here, getting to know the board and administrative staff here, were there any priorities that you picked up on from the board, from the community that you're using to drive those first conversations and first actions?
Yeah, there were a couple. I think first and foremost, continuing to accelerate student achievement, definitely is a priority. That is our core business as a school district. And, I've heard a lot about buildings and, the high school and the middle school. So continuing to start engaging with the community around how do we move forward with our high school and our middle school.
So you're coming into the district where we just came off of failed levy attempt for some new schools. So I know that that's a board priority. I've talked with a couple of board members about next steps. So you're coming right in for them putting together plan B and C.
Absolutely.
What they're doing there. Have you got a chance to get in to many of the buildings yet?
So I've been in 4 buildings so far. So my intentions are starting Monday. I'm going to spend a whole lot of time in all of our buildings over the next several months, just getting to know teachers, getting to know the administrators, getting to know our students, getting to know our parents, and again, seeing how we need to move forward as a school district.
Speaking of parent, how critical is, in your opinion, I probably already know the answer to this, but how critical is parent involvement in the buildings and within the educational system is it, in your opinion?
It's critically important. Parental involvement is, according to research, is probably one of the most important factors in improving student achievement. So, parent involvement for me, and I'm sure that most of the educators would agree as well, is critically important to the success of the whole child.
Yeah.
The emotional, the academic, success of the whole child. Parent involvement is absolutely important.
Sometimes the community hall, I think we forget that because, curriculum's important and the teachers are important.
Absolutely.
The students play a role and parents in that whole picture. Can't take one of those for granted and think that a system's going to be very successful. Xenia right now, seeing some positive growth, but report cards aren't definitely the state report cards. Let's put it that way, aren't where as a district we probably want them. Coming from Cincinnati, so you're used to the Ohio system, so that's going to be a big push. Then to try to raise those scores and.
Well, absolutely. Again, as I said before, student achievement is our core business. So we're going to be, all about improving student achievement and accelerating student achievement. And there's some good things to be proud of here in Xenia as it relates to student achievement. Graduation rates are up, and I think overall student achievement is up. Growth is happening as it relates to student achievement. So we have some really good things happening, and we just need to share those good things. And continue to, accelerate some of those good things.
I had actually went to our community, posted on Facebook. So what would you ask if he was sitting in front of you? And you actually already hit on some of those.
Okay.
One parent asked, how important is parent involvement to you? Community access. We just talked about how you said you have an open door policy.
Open door policy. That was
a real strength of Denny. So there's some big shoes to follow.
So I'm going to continue that. Absolutely.
He was always out in the public, going to the Rotary meetings, at the events. Just running into him, even at the local PTO events that my wife and I were quite involved in. So, and you got an elementary school right across the street from you here at the board office. I'm sure that's nice.
Absolutely.
To be able to keep that connection. And one of the questions was about school ratings. But I told him I probably won't get too deep in that. You have to get to know the people. Anyone's been any leader in any environment. You have to get in. You have to get to know the people and the culture of the district.
Absolutely.
Scorecards are scorecards. The culture in the community, it's not even the same from one town over to the next.
Absolutely. Yeah, report cards from the Ohio Department of Education, don't measure a lot of things. They don't measure, how great our teachers are. They don't measure, how good our parents and our students feel about our schools. They don't measure how supportive our community actually is of our schools. So, the report card is the report card. But again, there are wonderful things, excellent things happening across our district that I've seen already. And, we have to celebrate those things.
You big sports fan?
Absolutely.
So ready to start rooting for the Bucks?
Go Bucks. Absolutely.
Yeah. We're sitting in your office, so I see the Cincinnati stuff around, and you're already jabbing at my Pittsburgh hat.
No. I'm going to get you a Bengals hat.
I don't own any orange in my wardrobe. We got Miami University on the wall there, so you have to admit that one of Pittsburgh's best, right out of Miami.
You know what? Yeah, he is a graduate. He is an alum of Miami University, which is good. But every time the Steelers play against the Cincinnati Bengals, I always go with the Cincinnati Bengals.
So if you had coming from Cincinnati, larger school district to Xenia, how did off the top of your head, how the enrollment? Xenia's 4,000, 5,000, I think.
Yeah. So Cincinnati Public Schools, they have 35,000 students.
So big district. What do you think would be an adjustment for you there? Like if you had to think of one of the, I hate that we use the word weakness, strengths and weaknesses, but just one point where coming from a large district to a small district.
That's a good question. In Cincinnati Public Schools, it's larger, and that always poses opportunities and challenges. But I think coming here to Xenia, what's great about Xenia and our school system is that we have tons of individuals who are involved and want to be involved and who are very supportive of our school system and, want to continue some of the great things that have occurred here over the years. So here in Xenia, it's an opportunity to talk to more individuals, and it's more personable in a sense because it's a little smaller, which is great. So I've already kind of experienced that, which is good. They're differently different, which is not a bad thing. So
can you think of a strength, coming from a larger district to Xenia? Maybe some fiscal tools or
Again, I mean, they're different. Yeah, Xenia has its strengths, and Cincinnati Public Schools, they have their strengths, and so yeah, they're just different.
Yeah, probably if you're looking at the social, I mean, Cincinnati's not far from Xenia, so socially, culturally, it's probably not huge different. Income levels, Xenia is a lower to moderate income community, blue collar. I grew up here, proud of it. Grew up in this very neighborhood. So that dynamic in the schools plays in. There's not a lot of wealth or excess in the budget. I don't think that's even true for any public school system, no matter if you're from Oakwood or from Xenia. There's not ever really a lot of excess in the budget. Xenia's made some tough calls the last decade on curving spending and the budget. Last check I did was that the district was operating-wise pretty stable, thanks to the board and coming into an election season here, but not expecting a real change in the board. No one's running. I mean, everyone's running unopposed for their seats. So it's going to be a stable time probably from a leadership standpoint, from your standpoint coming in. Probably got to know them pretty well in the interview process. Absolutely. Pretty diverse group for the community. I'm actually quite impressed with our board currently and their passion for this community. Sometimes elected leaders are a key to success. You probably relate this in your leadership role from communities. The key to success in any leadership role is how we can receive criticism and how we take it in and process it. And we just come off a very difficult time, so I'm leading to with the levy issue. Did you read some headlines, follow any of that conversation? Are you deciding to draw a line and clean slate and move forward with around the buildings and funding improvements there? It's a long way to get to my question, but
no, it's a good question. So I think, for me, it's about studying and reviewing how we move forward and re-engaging the community around what it is they would like to see, as it relates to facilities. So, for me, being the new superintendent, it's about, engaging the community, doing a reset, and trying to figure out, how we move forward as a school district.
So hard to respect the past, but don't let it hold you back. The levies failed. The community spoke pretty clearly three times, although I was a big supporter of it, but the community did speak very clearly about that plan. From my personal opinion to you, I don't think that was a resounding no, don't touch our schools. The community didn't like that plan or that budget. Moving forward, it's going to be interesting to see I know that's a big priority for the school board, and I'm sure for you. Have you got a chance to look at any of the infrastructure yet? Dive into that conversation about the middle school and high school, its current conditions, or?
Yeah, I've had some very cursory, conversations and reads around facilities. So this coming Monday, my plan is to dive deeper into, that conversation and the details around that.
All right. Well, I really appreciate your time. If you just,
I appreciate it.
Is there anything you want to tell the community or say hi? I guess.
Absolutely. Well, again, I have an open door policy. So, if there's anything that you're thinking should happen, or if you have opinions or suggestions or wonderments, and you want to say, "Hey, Gabe, what about this?" My door is always open. So if you see me out and about in the community, just pull me aside, say, "Hey, Gabe, have you ever thought about this?" So I'm really open to continuous improvement and how we get better, and to, engage the community around, what is it that they want to see from our school district. So, for me, it's about engaging with individuals.
Awesome.
And really trying to figure out, how we provide the best possible education for all of our students. And I think you see that on my wall. For me, it's about a child-centered approach to education and educational excellence. So again, I'm here, any and all feedback.
Awesome. Well, I would be amiss if on behalf of my wife, to invite you to the PTO meetings. She's very involved in the PTO. She's the PTA at the middle school and was here at McKinley across the street. My family's 3 generations in McKinley school buildings. My father went to the original one. I went to this one.
Wow.
I took... in this part of the building, I was in 4th grade in this classroom.
Wow.
And then my kids went across the street there to the new building.
That's awesome.
Plans to get in front of the PTOs and PTAs and
everyone. Absolutely everyone.
Awesome. Well, again, I appreciate your time.
No,
we'll let you get to work here.
No, I appreciate it, Josh. Thank you.
I really enjoyed that interview with Dr. Gab Loften. He's got a big job ahead of him. His first day is officially not till Monday, but he's moved into his office. He is here in the community, putting the game plan together to hit the ground running first day on the job. So I really appreciate him taking the time. It was a firm reminder to me why I enjoyed doing Xenia's Word on the Street and bringing that and this podcast to you as a chance to really engage our leaders in our community and talk about the things that are most important to all of us. And I cannot think of anything more important than our students and the future for our community. I think we have some positive things to look forward to in our school district. My kids are there. We're involved. I'm sure many of you have kids there, and many of you are involved. We got some difficult decisions to make when it comes to budgets and buildings and really improving the state scorecards. But as Dr. Loften had mentioned there, we have so much to emphasize and accelerate in our district. We have great students, great teachers, and a great community. That's it for this episode of Xtown the Podcast. Please visit xeniaword.com for your local news, events, and views for our community, by our community. Again, my name is Josh. I'm going to go enjoy this beautiful day. Talk to you later, Xenia. Hey, what is this?
Xenia's Word on the Street.